Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All righty, a very happy Thursday morning to you here on Sports Daily. Tommy Castor along with Paul Savage in for Jacob Albracht here on KFH. It's a very special show today. We are live on location, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino just south of Wichita, because it is, of course, the opening day of March Madness. Glad to be here with you today on KFH, also on our video stream. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Paul Savage, welcome in. First off, number one, I'm kind of surprised that I didn't have to drag you away from the craps table this morning.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, this is like heaven. I mean, I think I've died and gone to heaven. By the way, when you come down here to the sports book here at the Kansas Star, they've got a TV screen as big as my house.
100%.
As big as my house. I swear it's something else. It's really fun. It's nice. The chairs, the chairs to lounge around in and watch sports. They got 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even count all the screens. They got so many screens going on with sports, and the big screen that's as big as my house, it's going on. And the chairs. I tried the chairs.
Comfortable, right?
I think
extremely comfortable.
I think if they got a shower in the bathroom, I think I could move in down.
You might just want to live here.
I think I can live here. I think I can.
It's a perfect place to watch all the opening round games in March Madness today and tomorrow.
Gosh.
We're going to be here today. Of course, we're here right now. We're going to be here tomorrow on site to kick off March Madness. And I'm telling you what, you mentioned the huge TV, but there are multiple screens
everywhere.
They will have all the games on today, all the games on tomorrow. It's a quick, easy drive south of Wichita in Mulvane at the FanDuel Sportsbook here at the Kansas Star Casino. What's funny, Paul, I didn't even realize until we got here. I forgot that Major League Baseball was going on. The regular season openers in South Korea, the Dodgers and the Padres. So that game, I think it just wrapped up.
Did wrap up.
But that game was on when we got here.
Right.
So live sports there. There's a golf tournament on right now, but we're only a couple of hours away from kicking off all the March Madness games. And like I said before, this is a great place to come in and watch all the games here today and tomorrow. Just an easy drive south of Wichita here in Mulvane at the Kansas Star Casino. So we really appreciate the FanDuel Sportsbook for having us out here. So later on today, or even now, if you're off work, I know a lot of people, Paul, take vacation days today and tomorrow because they want to watch all the tournament games. So if you're looking for a place to be able to watch all of them, this is the place to do it.
Oh, are you kidding? This is the place to do it. And by the way, they've got great food. We're just a stone's throw away from the Tin Lizard Bar and Grill.
Yep.
So cool. I mean, it's great food. It's great fun. It's just a place that you would want to come. You want a place where it's happening, a kind of an in place where it's happening. You want to be a part. I don't know where you could go locally that would be any more involved with what's going on than right here with every game on a huge screen TV, every game of this tournament on the wall on
Yeah.
big screens. It's just going to be tremendous.
Of course, you can place your bets here at the sports book.
That's
of course,
right.
you can use FanDuel, on your device as well. But either way, they've got that access for you here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm going to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit for you, Paul.
Oh, please.
So you showed up this morning, your lovely girlfriend here with you.
Right.
You gave her some money. You let her go gamble. And I'm hopeful that she'll come back with a lot of money for you.
Here's the question that I have, and you're a married man. You know more about women than I'll ever know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, then I'll get with Tony Dusing. He knows more about women than anybody I know.
Tony does for sure.
Tony does for sure. I mean, look at it. The guy's a chick magnet. But anyway, with that being said, if she wins a big pot, let's say she scores a big pot.
Right.
Do I ever know about it?
No, you'll never see.
No, I'll never know.
You will never see a dime.
That's kind of what, and I'm deferring to you because you know everything about women, and I know nothing about women.
Now
so
she might tell you that she won, but you're never going to see that money again.
Oh, never see the money.
Win or lose,
she may tell me. I won't see the money. That makes sense to me. Perfect sense.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into in the show today, basically a lot about March Madness. I mean, it is the opening day of the tournament. Games start off at 11 o'clock. And, Jacob Albracht not with us today, but he provided some of his favorite bets for the opening round. I know you've got some of your favorite bets. I've got mine. We'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald in hour number 2 from GoPowerCat.com. He will share his favorite bets for March Madness. So there are, quite a few different angles that we're going to be covering. Mm-hmm. We'll talk KU. They play tonight in the late game. Of course, I know you and Jacob talked about it yesterday, Paul, about the news that Kevin McCullough will not be playing in the tournament. So we'll get into that as well. See if that, changes anybody's mind about what happens with Kansas in this tournament. So there's a lot to get to on the program today. By the way, the KFH hotline is open the entire show, 869-1240. You're more than welcome to call that hotline, chat with us here on the program today. We really appreciate you coming along with us, and hopefully we can see you down here at the Kansas Star Casino. Paul, from a top-level viewpoint, as we kick off Sports Daily here this morning, let's talk about this tournament. Let's talk about, I know that throughout the course of the last several days, as we know what the brackets look like, we know the regions, we know all of that. Who is your national champion? Who do you like to go all the way?
Well, I've got Houston, but before we get to that, I want to place my own little bet, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
Tony Dusing, our esteemed colleague and boss, really, just sat down in one of the comfortable chairs.
Sure.
Here's the bet. Let's open up the windows on this bet right here. Can we get this? Over under falling asleep 21 minutes. That's the over at 21 minutes and 30 seconds. Tony Dusing asleep in that soft chair.
I'm going to say it's going to take longer than that, I think.
Oh, do you really?
It's going to take longer. I think it will eventually happen.
Yeah, it will. Okay, it will happen.
But 21 minutes, that's a little That's a little aggressive.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't necessarily
I think he falls asleep like in 5. Look at him. I mean, he's exhausted, Well, fighting off the women like he does, it's exhausting.
Well,
but anyway,
he's making bets right now. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Well, anyway, back to who I like Houston.
Okay.
But as you look on my brackets, I'm favoring defense. I've got the teams that I know play pretty good defense, and I've got them in the Final Four, at least as I perceive it. But listen, I got Iowa State in the Final Four. I've got Houston in the Final Four. If those two aren't perhaps two of the best defensive teams in the nation, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Because to me, they are. Boy, they grab on and they defend and they challenge every possession. They challenge every touching of the basketball. So with that being said, I've got those two in the Final Four along with Tennessee. And I got Baylor. I mean, I told you when this thing was starting, I was going heavy with regards to the Big 12. Yeah. But rightfully so. I mean, we've said all year long the Big 12 is the best conference in the country.
It is.
So why would I not be heavy into my bracketology with Big 12 teams? And I am, and I confess I am. I've got BYU winning a game that maybe a lot of people won't take without some points, but I've got some Big 12. I have confidence in the Big 12.
You've got an all Big 12 championship game, right?
I've got an all Big 12 championship game. I've got 3 of my Final 4 members of the Big 12: Baylor, Iowa State, Houston.
You know what I find really interesting about your championship game?
What's that?
Is that you've got Houston and Iowa State. You've got Houston as the champion, but In the championship game of the Big 12 tournament, Iowa State ran all over Houston.
I know it, but Houston has lost only 3 games, I think 4 games maybe the whole year. They're 30 and
so
4.
it doesn't change your mind.
Doesn't change
knowing
my
how
mind.
poorly Houston played in the Big 12 championship
it's
game.
The Big 12, and the Big 12. We've said this all year long that anybody in the Big 12 can beat anybody in the Big 12 on any given night. Those things are going to happen, and Iowa State is no slouch defensively. I think they're the second best team in America defensively behind Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that for me, I mean, I've got Houston going to the NCAA championship game. I don't have them winning it. I've got Arizona as my champion.
Well, that's not bad.
In the NCAA tournament.
Big 12 team.
Well, future Big 12 team.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got you. I got you, big boy.
I think that Arizona is an underrated team. I think that they haven't really gotten the amount of attention that some of these other premier teams in the country have gotten this year. I think the job that Tommy Lloyd has done as the head coach of Arizona has been outstanding this year. Caleb Love coming over from North Carolina has been a difference maker for them. There's no doubt about that. So I've got Arizona beating Houston in the championship game. But I do have, it did make me pause a little bit knowing that Houston, looked, it wasn't just that they lost to Iowa State. It's the fact that they were blown out by Iowa State and they looked really poor in the Big 12 championship game.
Right.
It did give me a little bit of a level of concern.
Okay.
But the one thing I will say is that they do have Kelvin Sampson. He's one of the best coaches in America, the most veteran coach in America, one of them. There's no doubt about that. And, if I know anything, I know this Kelvin Sampson will get that team ready to go in the tournament. So do I think that Houston will win the national championship? They might. I don't have them as my champion. I've got Arizona, but I do think that there is that chance that that Houston bounces back in this tournament.
Well, there's no question. There's a half a dozen teams that you could have in your Final Four and win it. I mean, there's still a lot of people that got UConn. I understand the love of UConn.
UConn's going to be tough.
I understand it. I get it. I have UConn going into the second weekend, but I have Auburn beating them.
So do I.
Oh, you do?
So
okay, so we're on the same page there. And I think UConn is good, but I can certainly see UConn making a run. I mean, they play in a tough conference. It's good basketball. They've got great personnel. They certainly know what it is like to win national championships, don't they? So with that being said, I still have Auburn beating them in the Sweet 16. So
I don't think that anybody really wants to play Auburn. And the other thing too,
I'm with you on that.
In that region, as great as UConn is, that is by far the toughest region in the tournament. I mean, it's the toughest part of the bracket. You've got teams like UConn, you've got teams like Iowa State, you've got Auburn in there. Illinois is in there. Like that whole half of the bracket is super difficult. And, as good as UConn is,
that's right.
The pressure is on their shoulders to go back to back.
Right.
Not a lot of people expected UConn to make that run to a national championship a year ago. I think they were a 4 seed last year. The expectations are squarely on their shoulders. They're a number 1 seed. They won the championship last year. The expectation is that they get back there and they win the whole thing because they've been, probably, I would say objectively, the best team in college basketball from start to finish this year. So the target is on their back. The committee put them in the most difficult region in America. And, they've got to find a way to overcome all of that and beat some of these really tough teams if they want to repeat as national champions.
Well, that's right. Consensus, toughest region in America.
Yeah.
You're right. And I certainly have no argument with that. And yet, once you get to the Sweet 16, you start playing teams like Auburn. I don't want Auburn. If I'm in that, I don't want them. I mean, they're darn good in their season. They're physical. They're one of the top 2 teams defensively, I believe. And by the way, I find it interesting. I wasn't really sure, so I did a count. How many teams in the 64? Well, I guess 68 if you want to count. How many teams in this? And I'm just going to say 64 because that's what I'm used to saying. How many teams in the 64 have 30 wins for the season? As of right now, including tournament wins and their own individual tournaments, how many teams have 30 wins?
It's not many. My guess would be 5.
4. You're right there.
Okay.
No, you're right there. That's what you're thinking. And yet you look at UConn, they're one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and you think of the level of competition that they play night in and night out. It's pretty darn good. So, why did I not give UConn more love?
It's because that
You tell
region,
me.
the region is so difficult.
Well, I don't know if that crossed my mind. It may have crossed my mind, but
you're
right.
Think about it this way. The number 2 seed in that region is Iowa State.
Right.
They could have been a 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The number 3 seed in that region is Illinois. Illinois has been a really impressive team.
Well, there are people that have Illinois
in the
winning
Big
it
Ten.
all.
I think Jacob has Illinois.
Oh, that's right.
And
Jacob does. That's right. No, you're exactly right. I remember now. Yeah.
The number 4 seed in that region is Auburn. Nobody wants to play Auburn.
Nobody.
They're incredibly physical. They're
right.
a very tough team.
Right.
They're the number 4 seed. You've also got San Diego State as the 5 seed. San Diego State went to the Final Four last year. Right? So
I almost forgotten. Yeah, but you're right. You're right.
BYU is in there as a 6 seed. They shoot a lot of threes. FAU, another Final Four team, they're the 8 seed in that region.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are so many loaded teams in that East region. That's a big reason why I think UConn, it's going to be really difficult for them to get all the way through.
By the way, you brought up Illinois. I got BYU beating Illinois.
Okay.
No, I mean, that might be crazy, but here again, I'm going back to just exactly what is the Big 12? How tough is the Big 12?
Yeah.
How seasoned are you once you've played everybody in the Big 12 a couple times? How seasoned are you? Well, I believe that makes you mentally tough if you can get through the season. Now, granted, Illinois is darn good, but I certainly do not believe that the Big 10 was near as good as the Big 12. Do you?
No, I don't. I mean, from top to bottom, the Big 12.
From top to bottom, the Big 12.
The Big 12 is absolutely the best conference in America.
Right.
There's a reason why they got more teams than, any other conference in America in the tournament this year. And even though they only had 9, I think there absolutely was an argument to be made for a 10th team.
Sure.
Maybe an 11th team.
Yeah, we made that case. We made those cases all the time. That's right, because we knew it was K-State on the bubble, and then the final 8 out. I mean, they were there, didn't get it done, and maybe it's just as good. Although I have to think that the mental aspect of playing in the NIT would be totally different than playing in the Big Dance, don't you?
I do. I mean, I think that advantage is there for sure.
I agree.
On our video stream, our buddy Rick chimes in and says that Iowa State will not make the Final Four. He thinks that they're not going to be allowed to play physical like they do in the Big 12.
Well, wait a second, Rick. I always assumed that once you get into tournaments, the officials had a tendency to let you play a little bit more. Am I mistaken on that, or am I reading? And by the way, it's not written anywhere. It's an observation that I think over time that I would make. Am I wrong on that, Tommy?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that there's really. I don't think you can scientifically prove that.
Well, no, I know I can't. I can't. Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that Rick necessarily can prove that either way. That,
right.
Big 12 refs let them always play through and play physical and foul and things like that.
Right.
And honestly, with Iowa State, I'm not sure that's going to be the decision maker anyway. I'm not sure that's going to be the difference maker. I think that, based on just the talent that they have, regardless of, foul calling and things like that, I think that Iowa State absolutely has the talent to make a run. I was I had the belief, Paul, when they won the Big 12 championship, I thought Iowa State should have been a 1 seed, so I think that they absolutely have the talent to be able to make a deep run in the tournament. So we're just getting started here this morning on Sports Daily. I do want to mention real quick before we take a break, if you listen to the show regularly, I've seen Paul kind of smirking at me a little bit. My voice is not 100% this morning, so I appreciate everybody hanging with me. I sound like a teenage boy. Like
I wish I'd even brought it up, because I mean, you sound good.
Well, I appreciate that.
And we've got really good quality mics here on location. So you sound really good. I mean, don't push it.
I'm squeaking my way through. My voice is kind of cracking occasionally.
You sound good. But, you sound fine.
I appreciate that. But, I wasn't going to miss this, because this is fantastic. So we're live here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino. Go ahead.
One quick thing. If you're not streaming right now, what I want you to do is figure out how to stream this show right now. We're streaming as we speak. Check out the screens, because they're really prominent in the way they've got the camera set for streaming. Check it out. Stream this a little bit and check out the screens down here, because they are unbelievable. Isn't that what a great view we have on our streaming right now?
Yep.
And you'll get a sense for just how spectacular this setting is to watch sports, don't you think?
For sure. You can find our video stream on Facebook, on
Thank
YouTube,
you.
and
There
on
you go.
Twitch. So you can find that there. And then, my recommendation obviously would be, if you're watching the stream, if you're listening to the show, make plans to come out here and watch the tournament games with us. Everything tips off at about 11 o'clock.
Right.
They're going to have all the games on all the big screens throughout the entire day. The KU game late tonight.
Yeah.
For sure, they'll have that going on with all the other tournament games. You can bet along with that.
Got to get your feelings on the KU game.
Absolutely.
I think there's two camps, don't you? Two distinct camps on what's going to happen tonight with KU.
Win or lose. Is that kind of the two camps?
Thank you,
If we
Captain
simplify
Obvious.
it, yeah,
Thank you for that one. Thank you.
We'll do that after the break. We're going to take our first commercial break of the show. We'll come back, talk KU and their matchup tonight against Samford. We'll get into that and get our thoughts on what's going to happen with Kevin McCullough out for the entire tournament. How deep can the Jayhawks make a run? How far can they go? We'll talk about that on the other side, live from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. It's Sports Daily on KFH.
Is there a way you can show it? Yeah, it's just, well, it was too far away and it was a little blurry. And then your turn him, so I'm seeing your back. Let me go back here one more time. I'm going to move it one more time. Well, yeah, that's what initially. But you guys are too blurry, and then you take the so I can see it. Okay. All right. So this is better. I think these cameras have to be a little closer. Paul, it's got to be up close, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'll draw people in. Anyway, this open. Look at football kids go pro. Very true. We're 11,500 if we're lucky.
Okay, no flying colors, but as soon as they get evicted, they'll be
Tommy, this long thing, I don't know why they had to make it that long. I'm gonna stick it in here.
Okay.
Come and enjoy a free birthday boil at Looking Real. Valid only with 10 minutes, proof of ID, and also valid 3 days before and 3 days after birthday. Located
this is Ryan at Ryan Lemon Trail. There's also Ryan Price It's a season you don't want to miss. Get your season tickets and all sport passes today. This report is brought to you by the Florida State University Press.
Thank you, Richard Albracht, Bob and Jeff, the #1 sports talk on afternoon radio. Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. The commercials are over. 869-1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Sports Daily here on KFH. I'm Mr. Long, Savage, for Jacob Albracht this morning. We are broadcasting live from the annual Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. Really appreciate them having us out here today for the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. We will be here doing the show live today. We will be back tomorrow morning for day 2 of the games.
Right.
Of course, the games tip off at 11 o'clock this morning. Our show ends at 11, so it's perfect timing to slide right into those games.
Yeah, come on out, say hi to Tommy and I were sitting right here in the corner of the sportsbook right now. And the place starting to fill up. You know what's fascinating? Tony, you know what's fascinating is watching the people walk in. They always got their gear on. And so right now that I've seen Tommy, I've seen KU, I've seen K-State, I've seen Oklahoma State. I've seen a guy with a hat and a T-shirt for Indiana State.
There you go.
No, wait a second.
Hey, look,
Hold on. Indiana State. If I'm not mistaken, they didn't make the tournament.
they should have.
Well, they
Right
should.
now. They
Well,
should
we
have.
knew when they were the final team on the last 4 in. You and I both said on a show about a week ago that Indiana State's not getting in. That's a curse to be in the last spot of the last 4 out. That is the wrong place to be if you're a team like Indiana State.
And you know the committee chose Virginia to make the tournament and not Indiana
Oh
State.
my God!
And Virginia
Oh
on
my-
Tuesday night
Yeah.
got blown out by Colorado
Well,
State.
why don't you at least fake care it? I mean, you know, if you don't care, fake it. Let us think you care about playing basketball, because it looked like to me Virginia did not care. And I don't say that very often, do I, about a college team? But it looked like to me they were ready to be done. Did it look like that to you? Because that's what it looked
It
like
did.
to me.
And you know, I think that knowing that, I mean, the Sycamores absolutely would have put up a much better fight in the first 4 than Virginia did. That would have been an incredible game. Colorado State and Indiana State.
Oh my gosh,
the first 4.
That
That would
would
have
have.
been awesome.
I would have tuned into that. I would, because Indiana State's good.
They're a really good team.
Good.
They're obviously the best team in the Valley.
That's
You
right.
know, they fell in the Valley tournament, didn't win the championship. Drake won the tournament. That's why Drake is in and not Indiana State. I still think Indiana State deserved an at-large bid.
I do too.
But, you know, our friend Andrew on our video stream points out that Indiana State won in the opening round of the NIT. And so, you know, they could definitely make a run there in the NIT.
Well, they could win it.
Speaking of the NIT, next hour, we've got Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, joining us. The Kansas State Wildcats played in their opening round NIT game the other night against Iowa, lost in that game. So we'll get Tim's thoughts on that game, what the future holds for Jerome Tang and the Wildcats. So we'll talk to him about that coming up in hour number 2.
Good. And I like it. And here's the one thing I like about Fitz. He tells you what you think. He doesn't tell you what you think he wants you to say. And that's what I like about Fitz. He'll tell you like it is. It's one of my faves.
Well, the good thing about that, too, he's going to tell us what bets he likes for the opening round of the tournament.
Yeah.
And we've got that coming up for you, too, in hour number 2 in the 10 o'clock hour here on the program. Of course, you can always watch our video stream on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, We adjusted the camera angle on our video stream. So our trusted boss and colleague, Tony Ducey, said that we weren't looking great, which I'm not sure this makes us look any better.
Right.
Like, there's only so much you can do. Only so much you can do with this.
Oh, gosh.
So, you know, and he said it was too far away.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's far too close.
Yeah.
If we can get it like maybe on the other side of the casino floor.
Right.
That was the idea.
We've already used up the makeup budget for the entire show already. It's only March, and the makeup budget's already gone for you and me.
You have a makeup budget because I don't. I don't get a. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just playing. I'm just playing, for God's sake.
You know, as I mentioned a couple of different times, they're going to have all the games, all the March Madness games on the big screens here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. We really appreciate Brian Hargrove, the GM of the Sportsbook, and everybody here for letting us come in and enjoy these games. Like I mentioned before, our show ends at 11 o'clock, and then the games tip off pretty much right after that. So we'll be here today. We'll be here tomorrow.
You notice the people are, I mean, there's a lot more people here now than when we first started. And that was just 35 minutes ago. Already people are starting. The games don't start for an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half. So I mean, people are streaming in. They're looking at their phones. They're making their bets. They got a window now open over here. You come in and personally make your bet right at the counter. You don't have to do it on the phone. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So come on down, say hi to Tony and myself, and of course Tommy. Say hi to us. We'd like to meet you. Come down and join the party.
Let's talk a little KU action, Paul.
Let's
do a late game in the opening round.
All right.
Taking on Samford. The Jayhawks are the 4 seed. Samford is the 13 seed. You know, we got the news on Tuesday night that Kevin McCullough would not go for the entire tournament.
We weren't surprised, though, by the way.
Well, I was.
Oh, you were surprised?
I thought that he would. I thought absolutely he would play. I mean, I thought that was a big reason. I mean, he even said so himself that he would be able to play in the tournament, and then that didn't end up happening. Bill Self shutting him down.
Right.
What I find really interesting, Paul, is the line. It didn't move a whole lot with the announcement that Kevin McCullough would not play in the game. It dropped by a point. I was seeing it at about 8.5, around there, 8 to 8.5, depending on the book. But then the Kevin McCullough news comes out. The line is now 7.5. So it really didn't drop a whole lot.
You know why?
Kevin McCullough
Can I tell you why?
Sure.
I know you know why. And the reason is it's already been factored in. I think most people, just like me, is going to be one to play. And I don't know. And by the way, I've never examined him, so I don't know. But I just assumed that he was not going to play. You know, we would have heard more about his progress with rehab, with practice, with pain, all the things that go into the injury that he had. We would have heard about it. I think probably, you know, the betting nation has factored all of that in, and that's why you didn't see it move. Nobody thought he was going to play. I didn't think. Evidently, you must have.
I thought that he would.
Was it a hope or was it?
No, I thought that he would. I wasn't sure how effective he would be.
I got you.
And I didn't know if it was. I mean, because you always run the risk of putting him out there.
Right. That's right.
Him playing a few
that's
minutes,
true.
re-injuring the knee,
That's
and then
right.
shutting him down.
That is correct.
So, I don't know. I kind of had the thought that he would at least give it a go. But maybe it was something for Bill Self where he just thought, look, either you're 100% in or you're 100% out.
Right.
You know, we're not going to do this back and forth because as we all know, it's a win or go home, right? Like you can't have this every game situation hanging over your head.
That's a good
But
point.
will he play or will he won't? The team's got a game plan. They've got to strategize.
They do.
And I think it's got to be one way or the other, either with McCullough or without him. Not an every game type thing, type situation.
Right.
Do you think that this opening game with Samford, are the Jayhawks more at risk knowing that they don't have Kevin McCullough, or really knowing the line hasn't moved much? Was McCullough ever going to be a big factor if he played in the game?
I think the fact that this is a team, Samford I'm speaking of, is going to be a team that's going to get up and down the floor. I looked it up because I was kind of curious at the number of points that, and this isn't a test, I'm not trying to, who would look this up, but me, it hit my brain, I wanted to know. How many points do you think Samford is averaging per game this season?
They're averaging, I think, 80, like
86.
They
86.
shoot a bunch of threes.
That's right. 86.
That's what they do.
Now, Tony, if I was to tell you that you're getting ready to play a basketball team that's averaging 86 points a game, that would tell you certain things. One, that they want to get up and down the court. Two, that they're not going to play a lot of half-court basketball. Three, they're not going to probably run the shot clock down very often, and that they're going to probably try to score off turnovers right off the get-go.
Yeah.
That's the right thing. 86 points a game. That's a lot of trips up and down the court. And when I start looking at the number of trips up and down the court with the KU basketball team, particularly with the depth problems that they've had up to this point, I mean, I'm not out of line to think to myself, KU can run out of gas, because personnel-wise, they fall off pretty quick. They fall off the edge of the earth pretty quick. One or two players into the rotation.
They do. I mean, they don't have the depth, and
That's right.
If we're talking about the concerns for the Jayhawks in this game, I think number one is the fact that not only does Samford shoot the three a lot, but on top of that, they want to get out and run. They want to be in transition. They want to play fast. This is a Samford team that they need as many possessions as possible to win the game. And, I was looking at the Samford lineup and their roster, and, average minutes, they rotated a bunch of players, Paul. Like, it's not a 5-man rotation or a 7-man rotation. It's like a 10 or 11.
And why is that, though?
Because they want to play fast.
There you go. That's exactly. Now, KU doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah, you're going to see, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be much in this particular game, but it might be in future games if the Jayhawks can win. You might see some tired legs out there, because they're going to be running their starters probably the entire game. Especially knowing that McClure is out, there's one other piece of depth that you're missing. So I would imagine that one of the challenges for the Jayhawks might be if Samford gets out and runs, if they are constantly rotating fresh players in. I kind of think of it from a hockey perspective. Like in hockey, you've got line changes, and all of a sudden, like 5 guys in, 5 guys out, or, whatever. That kind of might be the way that Samford plays. They're going to rotate in and out a bunch of guys to keep the legs fresh. Kansas doesn't have that luxury to do in this game.
No.
They've got to ride on their starters. That's all they can do.
Yeah, luxury. I mean, you're speaking of a luxury. But right now, it's a handicap to this basketball team and getting up and down the floor. And that's going to be the goal of Samford. Get them tired, make them go to their bench, because they fall off quickly. And this could end up being a very, very tired basketball team. And let's say they win.
Samford?
Let's say KU. Let's say KU wins.
Yeah.
And so let's say KU wins. Just how tired are they going to be for Saturday's game?
I mean, that's my point. I mean, I think that the tired legs will probably come into play more in the second round.
I got you. I see. No, you're right. I misunderstood I got you now. Now I understand. Yeah. That's a very, very, very good point.
Here's the other thing, Paul, that Samford does really well. And I looked this up the other day. We talked about it on Tuesday, and I want to bring it up again.
All right.
Not only does Samford shoot a ton of threes, but they rank in the top 3 in the country.
Yeah.
And not only shooting threes, but shooting deep threes. And I don't exactly know where the cutoff is as far as the depth.
Logos. Let's just go with logos.
So here's what they're doing. They're going up and down the court. When they get probably past half court, they're shooting a bunch of threes from long range.
Right.
And they're probably doing it early in shot clocks.
Yeah.
I think Kansas has to be prepared for that tonight, where you could be 6 or 7 or 8 seconds into the shot clock, and Samford could be taking long threes early on.
Right.
So it's not just the Jayhawks defending the perimeter; it's them defending past the perimeter. Like, I think you've got to go out deep and defend them. And if Samford doesn't hit their shots, then it's going to be fine. But you've got to try to find a way to counteract that.
Over under 3 shot over 3 points. Here's a bet we got to make. I'm getting the attention of the bookie right now. Here's a bet we need to start laying out. Samford over under 3.5 shots touching from the logo. What do you think?
I mean, I think
is that a bet that come up? Oh, we're getting it. No, it's going to be higher than that. 4.5 shots while touching the logo on threes from Samford. But you get the point. Is I get the point on that. This is a team that has all the things that are really good about basketball, opposite what KU needs to face right now. I mean, there's a lot of opposite, Tommy. A lot of opposite.
That's been the challenge we talked about all week long. Is that the matchup is bad for the Jayhawks. It just is. Right? What
as bad as we've seen in years.
What Samford does really well are the weaknesses of the Jayhawks.
It's well said. Now, I wish I had said it that way.
That being said, though, I think the only caveat to that may ultimately win out is Kansas may just have more talent than Samford does.
That's right.
You know, if Hunter Dickinson is effective, and I think that's going to be a question mark now too, how healthy is Dickinson in this game? It could very well be that the Jayhawks can just overwhelm Samford with their talent.
Oh, I don't know about that. But that's the Wells. Tony, by the way, did you hear Tommy? See, that's right. That's why you're paying Tommy the big bucks, right? Isn't that correct? Isn't that why you're getting the big bucks?
You can't teach this kind of expertise.
Cannot teach it, can you, Tony? You just can't teach it. Tony said that's right. There's no teaching that.
The good thing, though, is that I've got this analysis, but I can barely get it out because my voice is just about gone. I've been yelling at my TV too much.
Yeah, I hear you.
Watching college basketball. It all kicks off today. The opening round of March Madness, the NCAA tournament at 11 o'clock, and tomorrow as well. We're going to be here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. By the way, Paul, before we take a break, I want to remind everybody, if you want to listen to any of the NCAA tournament games, we carry all of them on the free Odyssey app.
Oh, beautiful.
So download the Odyssey app. You can listen to all of them on the go today. Maybe you're traveling, or hey, you're driving down from Wichita to Mulvane, like we did this morning.
Correct.
On the way down, Odyssey.
Why not?
Listen to all the games right there until you get here.
Yeah.
But they've got a wall of TVs here at the FanDuel Sportsbook to kick off March Madness. Hope to see you down here today to check out all the action. We're going to take another timeout. On the other side, we're going to get into our favorite bets of the opening round of the NCAA tournament. And then in hour number 2, Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, is going to join us to talk all things K-State and the NIT and his thoughts on March Madness. Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, Chad Chambers back in the studio. It's Sports Daily. We'll be right back. Tony.
Turn you off. That means the news. I put on the headphones
We got a comment
You don't hear the echo on YouTube feed.
I don't know.
Tell them to mute us. You only have both of them.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so we need to have us mute but only you.
Well, I needed you guys.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily here on KFH. Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, in for Jacob Albracht this morning. Jack Chambers back in the studio producing. Live on location today, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino in Mulvane. Appreciate you joining us here on the program today. Hour number 2, just around the corner. We'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com. Talk to him about the Wildcats and the NIT the other night, an opening round loss for them on the road at Iowa. So we'll get into that with him in hour number 2 and the future of the Wildcat basketball program. What does he expect to happen this offseason with Jerome Tang, with the transfer portal, and other things like that? We'll also talk to Tim about his thoughts on the March Madness games. You know, Paul, just, seeing the way that this place is getting busier, as the show goes on.
Right.
We've got just over an hour left until our show is up and then the games begin for the opening round. I would absolutely recommend for folks that whether it's this afternoon or this evening, or maybe you can't make it out today, but you can make plans tomorrow to come down and watch the games. We'll be back here at 9:00 for the show. And then the games on Friday will kick off at about 11 o'clock too tomorrow. Definitely encourage folks to it's a really short, easy drive down from Wichita, right on the turnpike in Mulvane. If you haven't been down here to the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino, you definitely should. I know one thing that Jacob mentioned the other day, and I know he's done quite a bit of this. He's gone to a bunch of sports books in Las Vegas, and he said, hey, the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino is better than some of them and just as good as others.
Sure.
So it's, you definitely get that casino sportsbook experience, watching all the games, great food. If you want to do a little bit of gambling too, you can do that, but a perfect place to watch all the games today and tomorrow.
Right. And I mentioned at the start of this show, and if you're just tuning in or you tuned in after the show started, they have a single TV as big as my house. I pointed that out. I mean, you don't see a TV that size every day of the week. But there's one right there. We're 10, 15 feet from it right now. Yeah. And it is amazing. And of course, all the screens will be full of college basketball starting in about an hour, a little over an hour from now. This place is going to be hopping with basketball.
The other thing that, I know that obviously March Madness and basketball really big here. I know that later today, the KU game is going to be probably pretty busy here at the sports.
Oh, I'm guessing. Absolutely.
But on top of that, if you think that this is busy and crazy and going to continue to get that way, think about NFL football.
Oh my gosh.
Think about Sundays down here. Think about when the Chiefs play. I can just imagine just how crazy the FanDuel Sportsbook is, here at the Kansas Star Casino. So, it's one thing. And I'm a big fan. I like going to sports bars and watching games and things like that, having a good time. And that's all well and good. This is a different experience
This
than
is
that.
where I want to come try. Let's do that one of these days.
Yeah.
See if you can get permission from your wife to let you get out a little bit with the guys. I know she runs everything with an iron fist in your house.
She does.
But maybe she'll let you out. Who knows?
So funny story about that. Back in February, Jacob and myself and a couple of other guys that we know, we came down here on a Saturday, and it was the first time we'd come down here.
Did you tell your wife?
I did. But the funny thing is,
why would you do that?
The funny thing is, I had to put it. My wife is a big time planner. She plans out everything.
Oh, geez.
I put it on the calendar like a month ahead of time. That was the only way I could make it happen.
That's the big mistake you made.
Put it on the calendar.
You don't need to tell your wife everything you're doing. You just don't need to do it.
I'll let you tell her that.
Well, I'm a pro at marriage. I should know.
That's not going to come from me. Meanwhile, your girlfriend is probably winning a bunch of money right now on the casino floor.
Yeah, I haven't seen hide nor hair of her. I get it. Hey, Tony, I may need to take the next break. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I may need to take the next break off and go find my girlfriend. I could be down. How much am I down right now? It could be lots.
Well, like I said at the top of the show, you'll never know.
Or up. Tony says or up.
She could have hit a jackpot, and you will never know that.
I'll never know it.
Never know.
No, bye-bye.
Yeah.
That money's in the purse. I'll never even know.
You'll never see
I
it.
might need to check. Is there any way I could check cameras here? Can I? He says
man.
Thumbs up.
I think probably during the break you should absolutely do that and go check.
Yeah,
and make sure
I better find out
that she's okay. But no, we really appreciate the FanDuel Sportsbook for having us down here.
Yeah, we're being treated well, aren't
today and tomorrow,
Yeah.
and we encourage everybody to come out here and watch all the games, the opening round games today and tomorrow. We'll be back down tomorrow for the Friday edition of the program. That's going to wrap up hour number one, Paul. On the other side, our buddy Tim Fitzgerald joins us. GoPowerCat.com. All things K-State, all things March Madness. We will do that to kick off the 10 o'clock hour. I'm Tommy Castor along with Paul Savage and Jad Chambers producing. It's Sports Daily on KFH.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
He's got all the insight of what you want to know and maybe some of what you don't want to know. Here's K-State insider Tim Fitzgerald.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily here on KFH. Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, in for Jacob Albracht today. Jad Chambers producing the program live here from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. And we are joined on the KFH hotline, 869-1240, with our K-State insider, Tim Fitzgerald. Tim, it's a crazy day, as always, the opening day of the NCAA tournament. We're hanging out here at a casino. I kind of feel like we're playing hooky a little bit. I feel like we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing today. We definitely wish you were here with us.
You see, that's the difference between us. I live with the feeling I'm probably doing something I shouldn't be doing. I do that every day.
Without a doubt.
I never leave the house.
Well, hey, whatever works. You live dangerously. You live on the edge. It's what you do. That's the man that you are.
Oh, that's funny.
We've got a lot to talk about here over the next several minutes here on the program, and we're going to get your thoughts on the NCAA tournament in general, your brackets, your favorite bets, things like that. We're going to do all of that a little bit later on, but let's talk K-State first. The Wildcats missed the NCAA tournament. They end up in the NIT. They go on the road. They play at Iowa on Tuesday night. They lose in the opening round of the NIT. when you look back on the way that the last week went for the Wildcats, missing out on a tournament bid, falling to Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament, and then going and playing Iowa in the NIT, how do you kind of sum up the last week or so for the Wildcats?
Well, it summed up the season in a way because they played so well in that second half against Texas. I mean, they looked like the team they could have been. They offered up some hope, and then they came crashing back down to earth. I blame them a lot for the loss to Iowa State, but then we kind of saw Iowa State was pretty good in Kansas City. They decimated everyone. But look, Iowa was good, but they were in the NIT too. And you could see Jerome Tang finally saying, okay, some of you dudes just aren't as invested as you need to be. I'm going to play the young guys. And I got to tell you, Tommy, there's a lot of K-State fans that kind of felt, well, if the older guys are going to turn the ball over and kind of be half-hearted at times, let's make the mistakes with the young guys that might learn from the damn thing. And Jerome Tang kind of bought into that at the last moment, but they weren't going to win that game. The whole team just didn't look locked in enough.
Did that team want to be there? Did Coach Tang want to be there?
I think Coach Tang didn't want to deny his players the opportunity to be there, which I think some coaches do. And I think the players probably said we want to be there, but then, when they realized the portal was coming open or, it's going to be a drink special on Tuesday night in Aggieville or, something important, they realized we don't really want to be here playing another basketball game in what we see as a meaningless tournament. And to the credit of Tyler Perry, he kind of looked like the one veteran who wasn't disengaged. And he was the guy probably with the least amount of need to be there because he had just won the darn thing last year and been named the MVP. So what did he have to prove?
Yeah, let's go back to Selection Sunday here briefly, Fitz. Jerome Tang, after the Wildcats lost in the Big 12 tournament, made a pretty passionate plea and justification for an NCAA tournament bid for the Wildcats. Ultimately, that didn't end up happening. And, there were several teams that were right on the bubble that didn't get in. We talked in the first hour about Indiana State not making the tournament, but Virginia did, and Virginia got blown out and all of that. As far as the justification that Jerome Tang made before Selection Sunday and then knowing that the Wildcats did not get an entry into the tournament, how much of that do you think was justified? How much of that do you think did the committee ultimately get it right by not really, considering adding in additional Big 12 teams? Walk me through kind of your mindset on that.
Well, you got to keep in mind that what night would have been Thursday night when he made that speech. Is that correct? And then over the next 2 days, we saw, like 4 conference champions steal a bid. We saw teams that weren't going to get in the tournament unless they won their championship do that. And it moved the bubble significantly to the point where Oklahoma didn't make it. I think we were all surprised about. I think Indiana State belonged in there. It's a great story. I don't quite get what the committee was doing with some of these decisions, but leaving K-State out was not one I fault them for in any way. There was a lot of bracketologists even on Friday before the bid stealing started that thought K-State was actually another win away. They needed to, beat Iowa State and the next opponent. And of course, they didn't even get to that. At the end of the day, K-State wasn't really that close to being in the tournament. And the team that just lost in Iowa City looked like a team that had no business being in the tournament.
You brought up the portal just a minute or two ago, and I find that fascinating because call me crazy, but if I'm thinking I want to enter the portal, wouldn't I want to go play great basketball? Wouldn't I want to make every team in America want me if I'm going to go into the portal? Or am I missing something?
That is the mature decision, not the brain of a 20-some-year-old that says,
I got you.
I'm out of here. And that's the problem with the portal is I remember my emotional decision-making when I was that age, and I think a lot of players probably hop into the portal only come to regret it later, but they can't undo it. They already burnt their bridge. and there's no new bridge in front of them. And I think that's the biggest problem of the portal.
Let's look ahead to the future, Fitz. What does the future hold for this program? I know we've had a ton of conversations about Jerome Tang and what things might look like for him this offseason. Obviously there are going to be pretty high caliber teams that you would think would want to take a swing at him. I'm thinking about Michigan. I know Louisville's been down, but that could be a potential as well. And some others that are out there also. So not only Jerome Tang, but then also, let's just assume that Tang comes back. We know that they don't have Tyler Perry moving forward. Some of the younger guys did, take some good steps forward, like Day-Day Ames and others. Where do you see this team going from here, and how do you think this offseason will play out?
Well, this isn't 10 years ago. You got the portal now. And the coaches are really active in the portal. They attacked it as soon as it opened up. And why is it opening up before the season's over? Look, yeah. I'll accept that football has to be December because the kids need to get enrolled for the second semester of their new institution. But why is it so darn important to open up the portal in mid-March? Can't we wait till the Wednesday after the NCAA championship to do this?
Good point.
But I also get the feeling that they also understand that kids are going to check out. They're already going to be in the portal and accepting phone calls, even though they shouldn't be, if you understand that. But I think K-State's going to be fine. You can reinvent yourself in one quick year now. You did it coming in. I think they're going to be heavy into the portal. I think there'll be departures off this roster beyond the seniors. We'll just see how it all works out. I don't think he's going to go anywhere this year. I thought so earlier, but let's be honest, he just didn't have a very good season. He's going to be a hard sell in some ways to a fan base. But I know that people will be certainly sniffing around him. And every indication I've seen at this point is he wants to fix this. He doesn't want to leave on this. If he's going to leave, he wants to leave on a high note, but I don't think he really deep down wants to leave unless he's pushed. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how hard they hit that portal immediately and try to pick up some guys.
Talking to Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com here on Sports Daily this morning. Fitz, as we mentioned at the very top of our interview, we're live here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino, the opening rounds of March Madness. In just a couple of minutes, I want to get thoughts on some of your favorite bets of the weekend in the opening rounds. But before we get into that, let's talk March Madness in general. And really, we can talk Big 12. If you like other teams from a national perspective, we can talk about that too. But separate from betting, let's just talk about your bracket and talk about some of the games and the matchups that you like in this opening round.
Well, I've been pretty focused on the Big 12 games. You reminded me I haven't even filled out my bracket. That's a problem because I'm in my car.
But you got an hour.
Yeah, that ain't going to work for me. Can we just delay the whole thing so I can have a moment?
We'll push it back a little bit just for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, True TV, right? Throw on some of those practical jokers and just hold here. Come on, man. I like Colorado State a lot. I think that's the team that is out to prove something, that they didn't belong at Dayton. And we see this every year. One team comes out of Dayton and does some damage. I think it's Colorado State. I think they're going to beat Texas today. And I think I feel pretty good about that one. I haven't been sold on Texas all year. They got the talent, but they just haven't seemed to deliver at the level that they should. So that when I look at the Big 12 games today, that's the one I see. The number with Iowa State's big, but I haven't tracked South Dakota State since they played in Bramlage. I know they're pretty well put together, but I think Iowa State will take them apart. I don't even know what to do with Kansas. I don't know where they're going to perform at. Let's be blunt here. Even with their dudes, they weren't normal Kansas. And now to have McCullough out, they're going to lose. I just don't think it'll be today.
Well, that's interesting. I think they lose today. I don't think they go to the next round next week. Any of the rounds next week. But anyway, with that being said, I want you to know I've got 3 of the 4 teams in the Final Four are Big 12 teams. And here's kind of why I did that. Of course, obviously, I watch a lot more Big 12 basketball than I do, any other conference in America. So there you go. I mean, obviously, I would think I would know. But you know what? I have Iowa State and Houston in the finals. And I have that because of all the basketball I have watched all year long, there is nobody that plays defense in America that I have seen like Iowa State and like Houston. I've got those 2 in the finals. I got Houston winning. But I'll tell you what, this is the kind of tournament, isn't it, Fitz, that defense wins championships?
Yeah. But the wild card is how will the officials call the game?
Yeah.
The Big 12 teams that have been playing really physical, disruptive defense all season long, well, that is allowed in this event. I mean, will they decide, well, that's too much, grabbing and pushing and bumping, and we'll see how they call it. I think K-State got caught up although it looked like Iowa was kind of dismayed at how close that game was called at times. I'm really curious to see how the Big 12 does. We've thumped our chests all season long. Now it's time to deliver. They only got the 8 teams in. I feel like they've got 5, 6 teams that can really make a run. And outside of Texas, who shouldn't lose, I feel like the Big 12 should win every game on these first 2 days.
Yeah, you mentioned that Colorado State Texas game today. Colorado State, you're getting plus money if you pick them on the money line. It's not a ton of plus money. It's plus 120, but you will get plus money if you bet Colorado State to win. It looks like the bookmakers are, they're pretty convinced that Colorado State, at the very least, can hang with Texas, if not beat them, overall. Fitz, you mentioned you like that game, you like that upset. Are there, other games from a national perspective as far as like a betting line is concerned or anything like that you are looking at for today?
Well, I haven't really dug into the entire bracket, but I don't like Purdue in this tournament, and I don't like Kansas for obvious reasons. I'm not sold on the SEC, so Tennessee's eliminated. So I really like Creighton coming out of the Midwest. And here's the wild thing is I think every NCAA title winner since 2003 has ranked in the top 25 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. And Creighton is one of the 8 teams in this tournament that has done that. And Houston's also in there, Paul. So I just found that really interesting. That, I had this feeling, I don't like that Midwest bracket. I'm looking to see who comes out of it. I went with Creighton, and then I find out, well, they do fit the criteria of someone that could really torch through the bracket. So, and also, as a side note, if you're a K-Stater, you're like, hold on, Creighton's a 3 seed, and they lost Arthur Kaluma? Wow.
Yeah. How about this? Do you have Creighton as your national champion? I know you haven't filled out a bracket yet, but as far as like who you like to win the whole thing, are you going with the Blue Jays? Is there another team, maybe another 1 seed? I know you don't like Purdue. Is it Houston? Is it somebody else? Who do you like to win the whole thing?
I think that the greatest gift to a team this season was Iowa State beating the living crap out of Houston and Kansas City.
Yeah.
It took the pressure off Houston of carrying a win streak. It probably was a cold slap across the face that they if they don't play the way they are capable of playing, they're going to lose. I think Houston runs through this bracket. I've got Houston winning it all.
You know what you're saying is you're a big Calvin Sampson fan because he's got those kids. I mean, here's what I get a kick out of. As an old football coach, here's what I get a kick out of. You watch the University of Houston, one of those kids, they break down, they give up an easy basket. They have a faux pas, as we would say, on defense. Those kids, Calvin Sampson doesn't have to jump on them or get on them because they get on themselves. You can see them literally beating themselves up on the way back down to the other end of the court because they know they screwed up. I like that. I like that a lot. And this year's championship is going to go through a team that plays defense. And I don't know that anybody is coaching it better right now than Calvin Sampson. Or is there somebody I'm missing?
I really like Houston, and for some of those reasons you just mentioned, they've got that culture. They got a bunch of players bought into the system.
They have.
Occasionally, like in Kansas City, they forget to score, and that that can be a problem. But they're also capable of it. So it's going to be when you started that, I didn't think faux pas was the F word you were going to go with. But
faux pas. Highly underused, my friend. Highly underused.
Hey, so one more thing for you, Fitz, before we let you go. Going back to the Big 12, how important is it in your mind for the Big 12 to have a really strong showing in the NCAA tournament? We know that they're, obviously losing OU and Texas. Texas is in the tournament. OU is not. They're gaining 4 teams next year. Colorado and Arizona are both in the tournament. I really like Arizona this year. But knowing how much Brett Yormark is focused on building the basketball brand for the Big 12, I would imagine that even starting this season, before they're, introducing their new teams next year, it's pretty important and essential that they have a really good showing this season.
Yeah, look, every time you're in a situation like this, you want the team to perform well. And I might have just gotten pulled over. I didn't.
Good.
You want the team to – I was kind of going fast. To show up and get your work done. But from a more global perspective for the Big 12, you're selling your basketball. You want to break your basketball off into its own product because it's so elite. You better prove it. And if the Big 12 does deposit, say, 2 current members in the Final Four, that's huge. But as I peek over to the quick thing I did for our TV show, the 4 teams I thought would get in the Final Four, I've got Arizona there too. So I think those things could really pay off for the Big 12 down the road to really cement this national perception that the Big 12 is the most deep and talented basketball conference and worth a lot of TV money, because I think it will be.
I've got to ask before we let you go, just because you're in tune with this stuff a lot more than Tommy and I are, and that is when you look ahead and you look at the portal, you got Kansas State, you got Wichita State, the big 3 of this state. Who do you see attacking the portal? Who comes out of this this period with the portal and really helps themselves basketball-wise for next year? Any predictions? You got a feel for the big 3 in this state?
My apologies, folks in Wichita. I'm not up on the Shockers roster.
That's all right.
Right now, and so I know Kansas State will. I'm predicting at least 4 portal pickups, which, do the math, there's some dudes leaving. But I don't see anyone attacking it more than Kansas. I think Bill Self knows he was under-equipped. He had access to the portal. I think he will be in there, and their NIL will be doing a lot of damage, picking up some significant pieces for next season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the way that it all plans out. One thing I do want to mention, Fitz, is that I'm absolutely with you. I have no idea why the transfer portal is open right now. Wait until these tournaments are done before you allow players to transfer out. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that, honestly, that's a pretty big reason why teams are declining invites to the NIT. And so it's a wonder, not really a wonder, but it is, I think, interesting that Jerome Tang and the Wildcats accepted the bid just because so many teams weren't doing that. But I'm with you. I think that absolutely the transfer portal window should not open until the NCAA tournament is done.
Well, if you know the history of why the Oklahoma Sooners are the Sooners, they're they're named after the people that cheated the land rush.
Right.
It started too soon. But that's what's going on in the portal if you move it back. You're going to have a bunch of people cheating the starting time and in there recruiting guys that are still on rosters and not officially in the portal. So I think they just changed the rule. It's a mess, guys. It's a total mess, and I don't know how this is ever going to be contained fully, because the NCAA is toothless now. They're worried about candy and photo shoots when you've got massive cheating going on in the recruiting process that they can't enforce.
Yeah, I'd say definitely an interesting time as this all kind of plays out in this new world of college athletics. But, the granddaddy of them all, the NCAA tournament, starts in under an hour. We're going to let you go, Fitz. That way you can, number one, not get pulled over, but number two, try to get your bracket filled out before these games tip off. We appreciate your time as always. What do you have going on, by the way, at GoPowerCat.com?
Got a lot of stuff. We just dropped the podcast at midnight, so that's fresh off the podcast tree. Got some other stuff coming up today. And make sure folks are checking out our new show, the Big 12 Insiders. We do a K-State Insiders once a week, but my guy Brian Hanley, a former K-State offensive lineman, is the host, and that is every Tuesday through Friday on our YouTube channel at Go Power Cat and the Big 12 Insiders YouTube channel.
All right. Sounds great. GoPowerCat.com is the website. Tim Fitzgerald is the publisher, joining us on Sports Daily as he does every single Thursday. Fitz, enjoy the opening round games, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, boys. Great to talk to you. I just want everyone to know I fought the law, and I won.
There you go.
I love it.
I like it.
I love
Good for
it.
you. There goes Tim Fitzgerald. He is our K-State insider here on Sports Daily. We'll take a timeout on the other side. Paul, let's get into some of our favorite bets for the opening round of the NCAA tournament. I've got mine ready. You've got yours.
I do.
Jacob has his. We will share all of them to get you ready for the opening round, tipping off in under an hour from now.
Oh, wow.
We're live from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. It's Sports Daily on KFH. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Sports Daily here on KFH. I'm Tommy Castor, along with Paul Savage, filling in for Jacob Albracht today. Jack Chambers back in our KFH studio, producing the show. Our thanks to Tim Fitzgerald, PowerCat.com, for joining us like he does on every single Thursday on the KFH hotline. That KFH hotline is open the rest of the way at 869-1240. We are live on location, Paul, at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. This is awesome. This is so much fun.
This is tremendous. And I'll tell you what, the quality of TVs anymore, I mean, these big screen TVs, it's just like watching your own 75-inch Sony in your own home, isn't it? It's just amazing. And once again, let me point out, this will be the third time I've done it. There's a TV screen down there as big as my house. I've said that 3 times now, but I'm not lying on that. The thing is huge. It's really cool. You got multiple screens all over the place. You got the odds floating around on television sets. I'm sitting here looking at odds for Wagner and North Carolina, right? I mean, everything you need is right here. There isn't anything you can't bet on. It's all right here. They got it spelled out on TV screens, what the odds are to all the different bets, and it's just tremendous. This is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's no wonder that this is now considered almost a national holiday. It is almost a national holiday.
I think that it ranks up there with
the
Masters, probably the Super Bowl.
Right. Super Bowl.
You know, there are obviously other. I mean, I would even say like the Kentucky Derby is up there as far as like events, and the opening 2 days and really the opening 4 days of March Madness from now through Sunday. Such a big deal. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of people that will either take time off from work to watch the games, or maybe they'll play hooky from work to watch the games. That's okay. I'm not judging you.
No judgment here.
It's totally fine. But it's a big deal. And, you know, you talked about, you know, how here at the Sportsbook, they've got all these comfortable leather chairs to watch the games.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty much full at this point. We've seen a steady flow of people coming in, claiming their spot. I would imagine a lot of them are going to kind of hunker down and probably be here for most of the day, if not all day long, to watch these games.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be watching the games as well. You're going to be watching them. I mean, I know you have to work, but I know one thing, you'll to keep your eye on everything. You're just going to do it as I'm going to do it. And a lot of people will be doing it that way, but it's pretty cool. But there's an atmosphere of camaraderie here. I mean, even though you've got a lot of different shirts and T-shirts and hats of different schools, and everybody has their own deal, there's probably 15 or 20 different schools represented here just by hats and T-shirts. But you know something? That's what makes it cool. That is really neat.
You know what my favorite thing about being here today is? My absolute favorite thing is that we get to come back and do it tomorrow.
Isn't that something?
That's my favorite thing.
I think that's really cool. You know, I don't want to beg, but come on, Kansas Star, have Tommy and me back. Come on now, let's go.
We're coming back tomorrow. We'll be back here tomorrow.
Well, I mean, like later too. Yeah. You know, I'm not doing anything next Friday, Thursday, and Friday either.
Well, but there aren't opening round March Madness games.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I got you. All right. Yeah, you're right.
A big thanks to my buddy Brian Hargrove, who's the general manager for the FanDuel Sportsbook. I think maybe tomorrow we might try to get Brian in to talk to him a little bit about the Sportsbook here on the program, but appreciate
that'd be good.
Them having us out here to enjoy the opening round games. And you know what? If you can't make it down here today, I get it. It's a Thursday. Like I said, we'll be back here tomorrow. Fridays might be a little easier. So maybe take off early from work on a Friday. Come and join us down here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino to watch NCAA basketball with all of us. All right, Paul, let's get into our favorite bets of today's opening round for the NCAA tournament. We're going to start with Jacob because Jacob is not here with us today.
Right.
He sent me his favorite picks.
Got it.
From a betting perspective in the opening round games today. First off, the KU Samford game. He is totally in on the under. So if you're looking at the over-under for that game, he's going for the under. Now, I mentioned it the other day when we were talking about this. If you like the under in this game, then you probably like the Jayhawks to cover. And the reason I say that is because, you know, the Jayhawks don't want to be scoring a lot. They don't want to get into a track meet with Samford. So if they can limit that, they should win the game, and then the under should also hit. So that is one of his favorite bets. Do you like the over or under? Right now, the line, by the way, is at 154. That's the over-under for this game tonight. Jacob likes the under.
Well, I like the over, but most of that will be from Samford. So I kind of like the over on that one because I'm not sure Kansas will be able to control the ups and downs on that particular basketball game, and you're going to get dizzy. I've just got a feeling that at least half that game you're going to be dizzy watching Sanford up and down the courts really quick every possession.
Yeah, so Jacob is a big fan of the under in that game. So I think obviously he's anticipating a Kansas win, at least in the opening round. The other bet that he also really likes, Kentucky in their opening round game. He likes them covering the spread. Right now, the spread is at 13.5. That's where the line is. So he likes Kentucky minus 13.5. Not going to get plus money on that with Kentucky, but he does like the Wildcats at minus 13.5. From that regard, Paul, I don't have Kentucky going all the way, but I do think the Wildcats can be dangerous in this tournament. I think John Calipari has got his team peaking at the right time. I think I've got them in the Elite Eight, or at least the Sweet 16. I think Kentucky can do really well.
Good. Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. And from the perspective of Jacob Albracht, who we know very well, that makes total sense on how he would bet it. Total sense.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it's a 13.5 spread. So he likes that. Those are his favorite two bets for today's game. He's got a couple of others for tomorrow that we'll share on the program then, but it's the under in KU Samford, and then it's Kentucky minus 13.5. Let's talk about yours, Paul.
All right. Well, I like McNeese over Gonzaga. Now I know everybody thinks I'm crazy on that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are sleeping on McNeese. That is a really good basketball team. And remember, I told you there were 4 teams, and I believe they've got 30-plus. I think they've got 30-plus wins. Yeah, and that's one of those teams. They're really, really good, coached by a big-time coach who has, got in trouble at LSU, got fired from LSU because he recruited and paid players. Well, guess what? Now he'd be totally legal. Whatever he's doing right now is totally legal. And this is Coach Wade is got this team playing well. I like McNeese to win outright, even though they're getting points. I still like McNeese to win this game and advance to the second round against who will be Samford of all people after they've beaten KU.
So you like Samford over Kansas on the money line tonight?
I do. Okay, I do.
So the good thing about that for you, Paul, if you were going to bet that Samford on the money line, I mean, the odds are pretty juicy for that game. I mean, even though, the spread is not particularly big, even though the Jayhawks are without Kevin McCullough, if you bet Samford on the money line tonight to beat KU, you're getting plus 240 on that. So, you've got the opportunity then to, make a good amount of money and profit by betting Samford on the money line. And you know what? I don't agree. I think Kansas will win the game, but that's not a bad bet. I don't think Samford on the money line is a bad, terrible bet, because it wouldn't shock me if Samford is able to get out and do what they want to do,
right,
and the Jayhawks aren't able to keep up.
Right.
That could absolutely, I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen. So I totally understand your bet with liking Samford on the money line.
There's a lot we don't know about this game. Let's face it. Usually you know what you're going to get from the University of Kansas, right? I mean, pretty much you understand exactly who they are, how they win, what they do, what they need to do to be successful.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're going to get it. You just don't know. I mean, I'm not even 100% sure that Hunter Dickinson is going to be 100%. Now, they say he's practicing, he's banged for the last couple of days in practice, which means he's played hard, is basically what it means. They're not going to bang him, but they say he's banging in practice. But I mean, I don't even know what KU is going to get out of Hunter Dickinson. We'll find out. We'll find out rather quickly, but it's going to be interesting to see just exactly how effective Hunter Dickinson is, and he'll probably be okay. But man, this is not a deep team. It's even less deep without the McCullers. This is a problem for the University of Kansas. And the other thing is, do they want to be there? I'm not.
They of course want
they
to be there.
But
of course they do.
I get the feeling that this is a team that understands we have handicaps with regards to things that we want to do, and normally we would do with our will. They don't have that right now. I don't think they have the swagger either.
Okay.
The swagger of Kansas, and you know what I mean.
I get it. And they're shorthanded, and there's that challenge there. Okay, so I find this really interesting. And I think you've done this, you've got Samford on the money line.
Right.
you've got McNeese State on the money line over Gonzaga.
That's right.
Okay, so those are 2 upsets that you've got.
Well, I've got them, and I'm getting a little bit of money on them, but look at the quality of those 2 basketball teams. I mean, they're good basketball teams, and it's kind of ironic. One of those teams that I've got 30 win teams.
Yeah,
that's hard to do nowadays.
If you were to parlay those 2 teams together today, if you like both of those upsets, McNeese State over Gonzaga, Samford over Kansas, you're getting a parlay. You're getting plus 1,000 odds.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting 100 to 1 odds that win is going to happen, that parlay is going to happen between those 2 teams. So there is an opportunity if you like both of those upsets to make a good amount of money, on both of those games, and then you would have a second round matchup between McNeese State, Will Wade, as you mentioned, the coach there, and Samford. Both of these 2 teams are teams that I don't think any top seed would ever really want to face, because of the success that they've had this season. A couple of the games that I really like today, and I think as far as betting is concerned, for me, what's really important is trying to find, good odds where you can. I think that really one of my favorite ones, I kind of like Dayton over Nevada. I like that. I like actually them covering the spread. So that's one that I'm looking at. I think you can get pretty decent odds on that. That game is today. Dayton is actually a 1-point underdog against Nevada. That's a pretty close spread there. So I do like that game. And then, honestly, I think that a pretty good strategy would be to take the top seeds that you really like. And if you think that they're going to roll over their opponents, maybe you parlay a couple of them together to try to get some good odds. So I'm talking UNC over Wagner. They're 24.5-point favorites. We always see in these 1-16 matchups, usually the number 1 seed pulls away and wins by a large margin. So I'm looking at that one potentially. Purdue over Grambling State. Purdue is 26.5-point favorites. That could be another team as well that could win really large in round number 1 today. So, I think that that's a fairly solid strategy. It's either finding teams that you like the upset, the lower seed beating the higher seed, or maybe the top seeds, you parlay them together.
Right. And of course, Grambling State just beat Montana State to get to the opportunity to play in that first round game. So that's interesting. Obviously, you barely beat Montana State. That tells you the quality of basketball doesn't line up very well with when you're playing a number 1 seed, does it?
That Purdue Grambling State game is actually tomorrow afternoon. And
that will be tomorrow because
they played last night.
Montana played Grambling last night.
So we'll of course have more thoughts on what we like tomorrow in the second day of the opening round of the NCAA tournament. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back our final full segment and get ready to tip off here with NCAA Tournament March Madness. It's right around the corner. We're live at the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Kansas Star Casino. It's Sports Daily coming right back. Welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. I'm Tommy Castor, along with Paul Savage. Jad Chambers producing the show. Once again, our thanks to the FanDuel Sportsbook out here at Kansas Star Casino in Mulvane. Only a few minutes remaining, Paul, until the first games of the NCAA tournament tip off. And all the games, all day long today, all day long tomorrow, the entire opening round, the entire tournament. You'll be able to watch all of them here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. It's been just an awesome couple of hours. We really appreciate the opportunity to be down here. We'll be back here tomorrow, too.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to take over the Bob and Jeff show time slot, and me and Tommy come back out here and broadcast this afternoon. Tony, can we do that? He says he doesn't know. But hey, we had that much fun, haven't we?
Pull double duty today.
Yeah, this has been so much fun that I would come back out, and we're coming back tomorrow and doing it all over again. But boy, I'll tell you, it's been so much fun, and they've treated us like kings. They treat everybody so well when you come down here and participate in betting your favorite team. It's a lot of fun.
You know, we were talking about it during the break off air about just the way that things have changed as far as, you know, it wasn't that long ago that sports wagering was not legal in the state of Kansas.
That's right.
And, you know, so really it's been, a couple of years, right? You
know,
know,
it hadn't been long. That's right.
Less than a couple of years. And just seeing the way that this entire industry has grown. And, you know, as we know, Paul, like before it was legalized, it was still happening. But now we've got a place to be able to watch the games, to enjoy ourselves, to just have a lot of fun. And March Madness is a perfect example of that.
Right. That's exactly right. And of course, you know, everybody's having fun. And of course, we encourage everybody to, you know, if you want to bet, never bet more. And anybody involved would say, don't bet more than you can afford.
Yeah, bet responsibly.
But I'll tell you what, you want to be involved in a game, have a little money on it. And I'll tell you what, it just enhances, you know, the thrill of the game. And you may be a hardcore KU or K-State fan, but I'll guarantee you drop a little money on the game, it'll make it more fun.
Well, I know that's the way that you know, I kind of watched the first four matchups last night and the night before. You know, I didn't have a dog in the fight with Montana State and Grambling State.
Right.
But you throw a couple of bucks on it, all of a sudden you're invested in the game.
Yeah, you're rooting a little bit now.
100%.
That's right. That's exactly right, Tommy.
So yeah, of course, like I mentioned, we appreciate the FanDuel Sportsbook here and everybody for having us out today. We'll be back out tomorrow, and you know, I don't know if folks can really hear this on the air or not, but just the atmosphere is picking up. Like you can hear the noise and the people and all of that. You know, as the show has gone on, it'll be that way as the day goes on. I know it'll be that way tonight when KU plays. I'm really looking forward to it. For me,
right,
it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, sporting days in the entire calendar.
Right. Now, and the windows to where you place your bets. I mean, there's been somebody in line to you know, place their bets. I don't know, for the last hour. There hadn't been an open spot yet. People coming in, having some fun, you know, getting some soft drinks. I mean, you got a little mini bar over there that you can get all you want. It's free, and just you come down, you have a good time. And I don't know, this is just a lot of fun. The atmosphere is just unbelievable. And it's really cool being around a lot of people that love sports as much as you do. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
The very first game that is going to tip off here at 11:15, it's an 8-9 matchup. You've got Mississippi State, the 8 seed, Chris Jans, the head coach of Mississippi State, the 9 seed, Michigan State, the legend Tom Izzo. Mm-hmm. For me, it's hard to bet against Tom Izzo in the month of March in the NCAA tournament. He's a national championship winning coach. It's hard for me to bet against him. I know that Mississippi State has been good this year. I really like Chris Jans. Of course, he's got the Wichita State connection and all of that. But for me, I go with the experience of Tom Izzo in the NCAA tournament.
Right. I've got Mississippi State, and I'll tell you why. Partly because I believe that the SEC has been a tougher conference than the Big Ten. I've not been that impressed with the Big Ten. I mean, I know you got Purdue. Don't get me wrong. I get it.
Illinois is
good. Yeah. You've got several 2 or 3 teams that are really, really, really good at the top of the Big Ten. But I think week in and week out, game in and game out, that the SEC has just been a tougher grind, and Mississippi State has been through those battles. I mean, when we were talking with Fitz, he didn't mention Auburn. You know, I don't want to play Auburn. You had mentioned earlier in the show, if you were somebody in their brackets, you don't want to play Auburn. You don't want to play them. So I just think that I've gone with Mississippi State. But man, we're talking about 8-9s. I mean, you know, it can go either way.
Yeah. The second game tipping off at 11:40 this morning. It's a 6-11 matchup. You've got BYU out of the Big 12 taking on Duquesne. Duquesne won their conference tournament. But even knowing that, I do like BYU in this game. Just watching them play in the Big 12 this season, they shoot a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They're a pretty active team. I like BYU as the 6th seed to move on.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's easy. I still got BYU going another round or two. I like but I've been giving a lot of credit to Big 10 team, our Big 12 teams. I'm just doing that right now. And and maybe, Tommy, it's because I'm so familiar with it. I mean, we've both seen almost every team. Now, I do admit when I see West Virginia on, and I've seen them on this year, I haven't watched much to West Virginia because they're not good.
They're not good.
But you get past West Virginia and even Oklahoma State, and you've got a lot between you and I. We've watched a lot of Big 12 basketball.
Creighton and Akron, they're the third game at 12:30. Arizona, Long Beach State. After that, UNC Wagner, Illinois Morehead State. That's the early slate. And then the schedule continues, of course, capping off with KU tonight in the late game. We're going to take our final timeout. On the other side, we'll let you know what's on the network next on Sports Daily.
The hottest tournament in college hoops is here. BetMGM is giving you a shot to net a bigger score on the action with our March Matchups Boost Pack. This Boost Pack contains 3 tokens to boost your potential winnings by 64%. You can choose an odds boost token, a parlay boost token, or a live odds boost token. Just sign up with BetMGM or log into your existing BetMGM account to receive your Boost Pack. Then, wager on any first-round March Matchups game and apply one of the tokens. Make sure to bet up to the minimum stake, odds and legs specified on the token. If your boosted wager hits, you'll score a 64% bigger payout. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. New and existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as unrestricted funds. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
right, that's going to wrap things up for us here today on Sports Daily, getting ready for the opening round of the March Madness games here at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Kansas Star Casino. Appreciate the Sportsbook for having us down here. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, to get ready for day number 2 of the NCAA tournament. A pretty normal day of programming on KFH. Jim Rome, Bob and Jeff, Zach Gelb, JR Sport Brief. But you can listen to all the March Madness games today on the free Odyssey app. Paul, this was a lot of fun. We'll see you back right here tomorrow.
Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it.
For Jad Chambers, back in the studio producing the show for Paul Savage. For our boss, Tony Dusing, I'm Tommy Castor. Have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Enjoy the first round games, everybody.